Hi guys men. Thank you for watching these videos. Subscribe to the channel to not miss new videos. So, this all went down 5 months ago, but it's taken me a while to even think straight, let alone write it out. 25M, have been married to my wife, Cassie, 27F, for just under 3 years. We met when she was 23 and I was 30. It was one of those whirlwind things, intense, passionate, fast. I was absolutely floored by her at first. She was witty, gorgeous, full of energy, and yeah, a little high maintenance, but I didn't mind it back then. We had our ups and downs, like anyone, but nothing too major. I describe our marriage as decent until the office Christmas party, when I started to see things for what they really were. Cassie works at a mid-sized ad agency. They're known for being young, flashy, and having more fun than should be legal on company time. I work in IT for a bank, so when she invited me to her company Christmas party, I figured I'd feel out of place but went anyway. Honestly, I wanted to support her, show up for her, and yeah, keep an eye on things because I'd been getting this weird gut feeling for a few months. That feeling started back in October. She started coming home late, not super late, just late enough. Claimed it was team brainstorming nights and client happy hours. Nothing I could prove. I wasn't going to be the paranoid husband, so I kept it to myself. But the joke she made about one of her coworkers, this guy Eric, started sounding less jokey and more flirtatious. It bugged me. When I brought it up, she'd say, "Ugh, babe, stop. He's gross. Like, so not my type." Anyway, the party. It was at this rooftop lounge downtown, all glass walls, string lights, DJ in the corner, champagne everywhere. I wore a blazer, she wore a red dress that looked painted on. Heads turned when we walked in, but I could tell immediately Cassie wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were scanning the room for someone else. About 2 hours in, she was tipsy. Not falling down drunk, but definitely flirty drunk. She'd already had at least 4 glasses of champagne, plus 2 vodka cranberries. I tried to pace myself, but I was tense. Watching her laugh a little too hard at the jokes of this guy, Eric. Then came the moment that changed everything. I went to the bathroom. 5 minutes, tops. When I came back, Cassie was nowhere in sight. I scanned the room and saw a crowd forming in the back near the bar. 2 guys were screaming at each other, Eric and some other dude, a quiet guy from finance, I think. Shoving, yelling, "Back off, man, and she's married," and she asked me. Security broke it up. Cassie was sitting on a couch nearby, flushed, giggling like she was enjoying being the prize in some twisted contest. I walked up, furious and confused, and asked what the hell was going on. She waved me off, slurring, they were just being dumb boys. Chill out. That was the first crack in the glass. I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to fall apart. The next morning, Cassie woke up like nothing happened. She was a little hungover, sure, but chipper. Humming while making coffee, scrolling on her phone, talking about how wild the party was. I sat across from her at the kitchen island, watching her with this mix of disgust and disbelief. "So," I said finally, "you gonna tell me what happened last night between Eric and that other guy?" She didn't even look up. Oh my god, that was so stupid. They're idiots. I told them I was fine to get home and they both got all macho about it. Like, relax, I have a husband, I don't need an escort. That word escort rubbed me the wrong way. Why were they even arguing over you? I pushed. She rolled her eyes, annoyed now. Because I was drunk and they were being dramatic. I didn't ask anyone to help me. I was just sitting on the couch. Jesus, why are you interrogating me? Her defensiveness was like a switch flipping. Suddenly I was the bad guy for being curious about 2 men nearly throwing punches over her. I didn't push harder in the moment. But something was off. I started thinking back. Remembering how often Eric came up in stories, how she would smirk while texting sometimes, quickly locking her phone when I walked by. She had changed her password 2 weeks before, said she had a weird phishing thing and didn't want anyone getting in. Right. I spent that whole weekend chewing on it. Every smile she gave me felt fake. Every time she reached for her phone, I was watching. Her laugh grated on me. It felt like I was living next to someone I no longer knew. On Sunday night, she went to grab dinner with coworkers and stayed out until 1 a.m. Claimed they went bar hopping and she crashed at her friend Kayla's apartment downtown. I called Kayla. No answer. Texted. Nothing. The next morning, Cassie showed up wearing the same clothes from the night before. Long night, she said, yawning. We got super drunk and passed out watching rom-coms. I didn't say anything. I just stared. That's when I knew. She was lying. And she'd gotten way too comfortable doing it. I don't consider myself a paranoid guy. But I'm not an idiot either. If something smells like garbage, it probably is garbage. After that weekend, I started digging. I didn't want to. I honestly didn't. But I also couldn't live in that maybe space anymore. Either I was crazy, or something was seriously wrong. Cassie had changed her phone passcode, and she always kept it face down. She even started taking it with her when she showered. One time I asked if she wanted me to toss it to her while it was ringing and she yelled a no, like I was throwing a snake at her. So I went old school. Our phone bill lists all incoming and outgoing numbers. Not the content, obviously, but I didn't need content. There was one number that showed up every single day, sometimes 30 to 40 times texts, calls, late night, early morning. It wasn't saved in her phone as far as I knew. I plugged it into Google. Eric. Of course it was Eric. I took screenshots, printed them out, and just sat there for a while staring at the papers. I wanted to puke. You think you'll react with rage or heartbreak, but in the moment, it's just this weird numbness. Like your body detaches and goes on autopilot. She came home that night in a good mood. Smiling. Hugging me from behind like she hadn't just been secretly carrying on some phone relationship with her coworker. You okay? She asked. I lied. Yeah. Just tired. I needed more. I needed confirmation. Because even with that evidence, there was a tiny, desperate part of me hoping there was some innocent explanation. Maybe she was planning a surprise for me? Maybe Eric had gone through a breakup and she was just being supportive? Maybe I was a jealous psycho. That hope didn't last long. 2 days after I found the number, I told Cassie I had a late work meeting on Thursday night and wouldn't be home until around 9:30. She nodded like she didn't care either way, said she had girls' night with Kayla again. Kayla, the friend who mysteriously never replied to me when I checked in before. So, I did something I've never done before in my life. I followed her. I parked down the street, waited a full 15 minutes after she left, and then tailed her car. I stayed 3 or 4 cars behind, nothing obvious. She wasn't heading toward Kayla's place. She was heading downtown toward a trendy little bar I'd never seen her mention. I parked and waited. She didn't go in alone. Eric showed up 5 minutes later. They hugged. Not a friend hug. Not a coworker, hey what's up hug. A long, tight embrace. Then he kissed her neck. Her neck. I froze. I wanted to get out of the car and scream. But I didn't. I watched as they laughed their way into the bar, arms around each other like they were the stars of a romantic comedy. I sat there for an hour. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat. Quiet. It was like my brain turned the volume down on everything. I drove home before she got back. She walked in at midnight, tossed her heels on the floor, and said, "Ugh, Kayla got so drunk. I had to carry her to an Uber." I looked her right in the eyes. "Oh yeah? How was the bar on Lexington?" She blinked. Froze. You could literally see the calculations happening in her head. The little mental Rolodex of lies she was flipping through, trying to find one that fit. What? The bar, I repeated. The one you walked into with Eric. Where he kissed your neck. Her mouth opened. Then closed. then opened again. You followed me? Not, I can explain. Not, it's not what you think. Not even a denial. Her first response was flipping it on me. I just laughed. Cold and empty. Like something cracked in me that night. And for the first time since marrying her, I didn't feel love. I felt disgust. So now I'm the bad guy. Because I followed her. Because I dared to confirm what I already knew in my gut. Cassie went from shocked to furious in a matter of seconds. That's a huge invasion of privacy, she screamed, like I'd hacked her bank account or installed a camera in the shower. You're acting like a psycho. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. I just stood there, arms crossed, while she circled the kitchen ranting. So now I can't have friends? That's what this is? I work with Eric. We talk. That's normal. I asked her why he kissed her neck. She ignored the question. I asked her why she lied about seeing Kayla. She said, because I knew you'd freak out like this. I asked if she was sleeping with him. Silence. Then, finally, not that it's any of your business anymore if you're going to stalk me like some controlling freak. I laughed. Genuinely. Cassie, I'm your husband. You don't get to have a secret relationship and pretend I'm the problem for noticing. She stormed into the bedroom, slammed the door, and left me sitting in the living room with a fresh hole punched into the side of my marriage. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened. Made coffee, put on makeup, kissed me on the cheek, and went to work. I stood in the doorway and watched her walk to her car. Same smile. Same high ponytail. Same woman I'd been with for 5 years, except now I didn't recognize a single thing about her. She was a damn good liar. I'll give her that. But I was done playing dumb. I started making plans. That weekend, she tried to press reset like none of it happened. She made breakfast. Wore that old college hoodie of mine she knew I liked. Sat next to me on the couch with her legs folded up and her head on my shoulder, scrolling through Netflix like we were any normal couple deciding what to watch on a lazy Saturday. I didn't play along. You never answered me, I said, keeping my eyes on the TV. She froze. About what? I turned and looked at her. Are you sleeping with Eric? She sighed. God, we're still on this? Still on this? You lied. You snuck around. You let another man touch you like that. We were just talking, she snapped, pulling away from me like I had slapped her. He's been having a rough time and I was just being there for him. Sometimes people get emotional. It doesn't mean I'm screwing him. I said nothing. Just stared at her, unimpressed. That made her angrier. You're acting like I'm some kind of whore, she said. I'm your wife, but the second something looks off, you don't even talk to me. You spy on me. You assume the worst. You lied about where you were. You let a coworker kiss your neck. You've been texting him every day behind my back for weeks. We work together, Greg. No one texts a coworker at midnight. That shut her up. So she flipped the script again. Maybe if you paid attention to me once in a while, I wouldn't need someone else to talk to. And there it was. The classic cheater's pivot. I stopped her right there. You don't get to cheat and then blame me for not meeting your needs. If something was missing, you talk to me. You don't sneak around. She stood up, crossed her arms, and stared down at me. I never cheated on you, she said, with the kind of deadpan delivery only liars can manage. And if you can't get over your little jealousy issue, then maybe we shouldn't be married. I nodded. Quietly. Coldly. Maybe you're right. Cassie must have thought I was bluffing. She got real sweet after that. She started being present again. Asking how my day was. Cooking dinner. Even initiated sex twice in a week, which was honestly more than she had in the last 2 months combined. But it all felt performative. Like she was trying to throw a blanket over a house fire. Then came the office Christmas party. Now, I wasn't going to go. But something told me I should. Gut feeling again. Plus, I wanted to see her and Eric in their natural habitat. I didn't trust her anymore, so why pretend? The party was at some rented event space. Open bar. Finger foods. Cassie dressed up like she was headed to a club instead of a work function. Tight dress. Heels. Hair down. She didn't even ask what I was wearing, which was a new record for her. At first, it was fine. I met a few of her coworkers, shook hands, sipped whiskey, kept my mouth shut. Then I saw Eric. And wow! I'd seen pictures, but in person, he had the full douchebag aura. Tight gray pants. Shirt buttoned down to mid-chest. Gold chain. Way too much cologne. And he smirked when Cassie walked over to him. They chatted a little too close. Touched arms. I watched her laugh with her whole body like she used to with me. And then, out of nowhere, another guy, taller, redhead, clearly drunk, walked over and shoved Eric. "You said she was going home with me," he slurred. Cassie turned beet red. Eric shoved him back. "Back off, man. She wants me." Everyone turned. It went quiet. Drunk guy shouted, "You said I could take her home tonight. You already had your turn last week." Cassie started yelling at him. "Shut up, Drew. You're drunk." Drew fired back, "I'm not the one whoring around the office." Security pulled them apart. Cassie fled to the bathroom. I stood there frozen with a half-empty glass of Jameson and the entire room looking at me, the husband. I didn't need a confession anymore. I had a public announcement. So yeah, that moment? That was the death rattle of our marriage. Cassie disappeared into the women's restroom like it was a war bunker. I waited 5 minutes, 10, then 15. Finally I knocked on the door and a woman I didn't know cracked it open. "She's not doing great," she said, eyes wide. "Maybe give her a minute?" I pushed past her. I was done with the theatrics. Cassie was standing at the mirror, reapplying her lipstick like she was prepping for another round. She saw me and flinched. "Okay," I said. "You want to try again with the lies? Or are we done?" She tossed the lipstick back in her clutch. I don't know what he was talking about. "Oh really?" I snapped. "So the guy screaming about how you promised to go home with him, after you were already with Eric, was just making it up for fun? He's drunk, Greg. He's always like that. And you just happen to always be around him when he's like that?" She looked down. "It's not like that." "So what is it like?" "Nothing." She said nothing. No apology. No admission. Just silence, like if she stayed quiet long enough, I'd stop asking questions. I told her I was leaving. She didn't argue. Just said, "Can you at least call me an Uber?" I laughed. "Ask Eric. Or Drew. Or whichever one's next." And I walked out. Outside, the cold hit me like a wall. But honestly, I welcomed it. Felt cleaner than the air in there. On the ride home, I stared out the window and wondered how many other parties she'd done this at. How many times I was the punchline in someone else's dirty joke. The clueless husband. The man who bought her flowers while another guy was zipping his pants. I don't remember if I cried. I think I just felt hollow. Like my soul had been yanked out and replaced with static. She didn't come home that night. Didn't text. Didn't call. Nothing. I barely slept. Not because I missed her, I didn't, but because I was flipping every mental file in my head, trying to see how long I'd been played. Every dinner she canceled. Every late night meeting. Every random shower before bed. Morning came. I was sitting at the kitchen table with black coffee and a stomach full of acid when she finally stumbled through the door. Still in the same dress. Hair wild. Heels in one hand. mascara smudged. She looked like a mess. I thought, good. She dropped her heels, rubbed her temples, and said, "We need to talk." I didn't say a word. Just waited. She sat across from me, avoiding eye contact like the floor was more interesting than the man she married. "I'm sorry about last night," she mumbled. "Drew's just bitter and trying to stir up sh*T. I stayed silent. He's had a thing for me for months. I told him I wasn't interested. He took it personal. I took a long sip of coffee. Then she added, "Eric and we did hook up once. It was a mistake. It happened after that night we fought last month." And there it was. The pivot from nothing happened to okay, just once. I asked her, "Just once?" She nodded. "Yes. That's it. I swear." I asked, "Why'd Drew say you were going to go home with him?" She paused. "Because he's a liar," she said, "way too fast. He's obsessed. He's been trying to get me to leave you for weeks." I stared at her for a long, long time. "You done?" I asked. She blinked. "What? You done lying to my face? Or should I wait for the next version of this story?" She stood up, furious again. "I'm trying to be honest now, and you're throwing it back in my face." I laughed. Because honestly? It was pathetic. She couldn't even own it. That's when I knew this marriage was dead. She didn't want to fix it. She just wanted to control the narrative. After that coffee table confession, if you can even call it that, Cassie stormed off to the bedroom and slammed the door like she was the one who'd been betrayed. I didn't follow. I didn't even care. Instead, I sat there trying to figure out what to do next. Not just emotionally, but legally, financially, logistically. My heart had checked out, but my brain was racing. That's when it hit me. Cassie had a shared cloud account on her laptop. It had synced photos automatically since we got married. It was something I set up back when we were still in the honeymoon phase and dumb enough to think we'd be transparent with each other forever. I went to her laptop. Password was still our dog's name and her birth year. She hadn't changed it. I clicked into the photo archive. Bingo! Hundreds of pictures. Most harmless. Selfies. Work lunches. Gym mirrors. Then I found the folder marked private. Yeah. Real original. Inside were screenshots of flirty messages with multiple guys. Instagram DMs. A few where she was bragging to her friend about how Greg would lose his mind if he knew. Then came the worst ones. Videos. I clicked one. Just once. It was her and Eric. In an office. After hours. Door slightly open. Her in his lap. You get the picture. I sat there, not blinking, hand on the trackpad, frozen like a statue. Another one was of her in a hotel bathroom mirror, wearing nothing but a towel, mouthing "Wish you were here" with a wink. The caption said 4E Blackheart. I closed the laptop. I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just sat there and let the disgust settle over me like a heavy blanket. It wasn't about the cheating anymore. It was about the fact she had fun doing it. She documented it. She planned it. She laughed about it. And I had been in the background of her life like some clueless extra in a movie about her rebellion. Cassie came out of the bedroom an hour later. She looked like she had finally managed to piece together some semblance of dignity, but it was too little too late. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't know what got into me. I don't know. We've been distant for so long. I didn't want to feel alone anymore. I made some mistakes." I didn't reply immediately. I didn't even look at her. I had already seen her true self in those videos and photos. This wasn't the person I thought I married. This wasn't the woman who promised to be loyal, who stood next to me at our wedding and swore she'd never break my heart. This was a stranger I had been sharing a life with. Greg? Her voice trembled a little, but I wasn't falling for it anymore. I looked up at her. You want me to believe you? She nodded eagerly. Yes. I do. I swear, I never meant for it to get out of hand. It was just emotional. It wasn't about the sex. It was about feeling wanted. And I didn't know how to talk to you. How many times did you need to talk to me, Cassie? How many men were you willing to sleep with just to feel wanted? The words burned as they left my mouth. She opened her mouth to defend herself again, but I stopped her. No. You don't get to play the victim here. You don't get to make me feel sorry for you when you were the one who chose to betray me, who actively deceived me, and who used me as a shield while you were sleeping around. She fell silent. The expression on her face twisted into something I couldn't quite name regret, maybe, but more likely it was just frustration that I wasn't playing along anymore. She was trying to get me to sympathize, to forgive her with a few words. But I wasn't going to be manipulated again. So, what now? I asked flatly. She took a deep breath. I don't know. I love you, Greg. I want to make this work. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. You don't get to fix this, I said. It's broken. You broke it. And you can't just glue it back together with apologies and promises. She started crying then, real tears. The kind you see in movies when a character realizes they're about to lose everything. She was crying because she knew she had messed up, but she also knew that the person she was crying to wasn't the same guy anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered, but the apology felt empty. Just more words. I didn't respond. Because I had nothing left to say. It felt like the air had gotten heavier, pressing down on me. Cassie was still standing there, her face a mix of pleading and panic. She was waiting for me to do something, anything that would allow her to slip back into the role of the wronged woman who could be forgiven and given another chance. But that wasn't going to happen. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, and grabbed a glass of water. I needed something to do with my hands. Something to keep me grounded while the thoughts raced through my head. Cassie followed me, her voice rising in desperation. Greg, please. I love you. I know I messed up, but we can fix this. We've been through so much together. Don't let one stupid mistake destroy everything. I turned slowly to face her. You're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You're sorry I found out. She blinked, as if struck by the bluntness of it. Then she tried again, her voice softer this time. I'll change, Greg. I swear. Just give me another chance. Let's go to counseling. Let's work on this together. Do you really think I'm stupid enough to believe you? I asked, my voice cold. Her mouth opened to protest, but I raised a hand to stop her. I'm done, Cassie. It's over. The silence between us hung heavy, thick with the weight of finality. She stared at me, her face paling as she processed the words. She wasn't expecting that. She thought she could manipulate the situation just enough to get me to soften, to stay. But this time, I wasn't falling for it. Please, Greg, she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. Don't do this. I already am. The words didn't even sound like mine. They were like something I'd been storing up for years, just waiting to be said. And once they were out, I didn't feel anger or bitterness. I felt relief. Maybe even a little peace. Cassie stood there, crying. But I didn't care anymore. I walked out of the kitchen, grabbed my coat, and headed for the door. I'll be filing tomorrow, I said as I left, and I didn't look back. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, lawyers, and an overwhelming sense of detachment. I didn't feel the anger I thought I'd have. Instead, I felt like I was going through the motions of a funeral, only I was burying a version of myself, not the marriage. Cassie sent a few texts after I left. Apologies, mostly. I'm sorry, Greg. I'll do anything to make it right. But I didn't respond. I didn't need to hear any more empty words. I had already made my decision, and there was no going back. She called a couple of times too, but I ignored them. I didn't need to hear her voice anymore. I didn't need to listen to her justifications or promises that were never meant to be kept. I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce. I didn't drag my feet. I wanted it to be clean, quick. I didn't want her to have the chance to manipulate me into second-guessing my choice. I knew deep down that walking away was the only way forward. The hardest part was telling my family. I had to explain to them that the marriage, the one they'd supported and celebrated, had ended. They didn't understand at first. They asked if we could work it out. If therapy might help. But I knew better. The trust was gone. And when trust is gone, there's no foundation left. I spent the first few weeks just processing everything. I didn't rush into another relationship, hell, I didn't even want to think about that. I needed to find myself again, to remember who I was before all this. Before the lies. Before the betrayal. I took long walks. Spent hours just thinking, reflecting. And slowly, I started to feel a little lighter. Not completely healed, but I was getting there. The anger faded, replaced by acceptance. I wasn't the same person I had been a few months ago. I had learned the hard way what it meant to trust someone, to give them everything, only to have them tear it apart without hesitation. But I wasn't going to let that define me. I was going to learn from it, grow from it. I didn't want to carry that bitterness around forever. It's been months now. The divorce is finalized. Cassie moved out, and I've got the house to myself. The transition hasn't been as hard as I thought it would be. Sure, there are moments when I still get this sick feeling in my stomach, remembering how everything fell apart. But those moments are fewer now. I've started doing things I used to love before all the relationship drama. Things I didn't even realize I'd given up. I'm working out regularly, picking up old hobbies, and spending more time with my friends, guys who actually respect me, who don't lie and cheat behind my back. I've learned that betrayal isn't just about one mistake, it's about how it changes everything you thought you knew about the person you were with. Cassie wasn't just unfaithful in a moment of weakness. She was calculated. Every step of the way, she was managing the narrative, making sure I'd stay in the dark long enough for her to do whatever she wanted. And honestly, that hurt more than the affair itself. But here's what I've learned from all this: you can't force someone to respect you. You can't make them love you if they don't. And you certainly can't stay with someone who's actively working against you. As for Cassie, I've heard through the grapevine that she's dating someone new. Honestly, I don't care. I hope she's happy, but I'm not the person who's going to carry that burden for her anymore. I spent too long trying to fix something that was broken beyond repair. If anything, I feel sorry for her. Not because she lost me, but because she's still in that toxic cycle of lying, manipulating, and pretending everything's fine. That's a prison, and I'm glad I'm not stuck in it anymore. Moving forward? I'm not rushing into anything. I don't need to. I've got time to heal and figure out who I am outside of the person I was in that marriage. And to anyone reading this who's going through something similar, take it from me, it's not worth staying in a relationship that drains you. Walk away when you realize that the trust is gone. Don't let someone rewrite your story just to make themselves feel better. You deserve more than that. You deserve honesty. You deserve loyalty. And most importantly, you deserve peace. It's funny how life keeps moving forward, even when it feels like everything has fallen apart. The last few months have been a whirlwind of personal growth, painful realizations, and moments where I just needed to sit quietly and reflect on everything that happened. Sometimes I find myself thinking about what went wrong. How I didn't see the signs sooner. How I let myself get wrapped up in someone else's lies. But I'm not stuck in that place anymore. I don't want to keep rehashing the past, because it's not going to change. What happened, happened. And what matters now is where I go from here. I've started to feel like myself again. I've rediscovered things I forgot I enjoyed. I've been more present with my family and friends, and I'm slowly learning to trust again, not just in relationships, but in my own ability to make good choices. I've learned to trust my instincts. I'm also not angry anymore. The resentment I carried for so long has melted away, and now it's more about understanding. Understanding that some people aren't capable of being honest or loyal, and that's not my burden to carry. I've let go of the need to seek revenge, or to even feel like I owe Cassie an explanation for why I left. I don't. Looking back on it all, I think the most painful thing wasn't the affair itself, or even the betrayal. It was the slow unraveling of everything I thought I knew about the person I loved. And it wasn't just the relationship, it was how much of myself I lost in trying to fix it. I gave so much of myself, trying to keep it together, trying to keep her together, that I forgot to take care of me. So now, I take care of me first. And that's not selfish, it's necessary. Because if you don't put yourself first, you'll end up losing everything, even yourself. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, here's my advice: don't wait for someone to change. Don't wait for them to show you they're sorry. If they're truly sorry, you'll see it in their actions, not their words. And if you're the one who's been hurt, know this: you're not the problem. You don't have to fix anyone but yourself. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve someone who respects you, someone who will never make you question your worth. And if you're in a toxic relationship, leaving is the bravest thing you can do. For me, this is the end of this chapter. But I'm not scared of what comes next. I'm looking forward to the future, and I'm excited to write my own story, one where I'm in control. And maybe, just maybe, I'll find love again. But it won't be because I'm desperate to fill the void left behind. It'll be because I've learned how to love myself first.